I am Dr. Nandita Kaushal, Senior Assistant Professor in the Department of Public Administration, University of Lucknow, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. I am going to present before you the modules, objectives and types of public policy. The objective of this unit is to discuss the significance of public policy in our democratic country. Role of public policy, importance of public policy, types of public policies. Starting with the introduction, the significance of public policy is that it is the oxygen for growth and development of our country and its people. Good policies take our country to great heights, and without a detailed policy, no goals of a country and its government can ever be achieved. Without public policy and planning, our country would become stagnant and lag behind the rest of the world and never evolve and keep up with the ever-changing times and global scenario. Policy studies are therefore of utmost importance as it helps scholars, administrators, politicians and political scientists to analyze every policy in depth and its pros and cons and help to improve its choices, formulations, implementation and feedback process immensely and help it be at par with its contemporaries. The different parts of society like interest and pressure groups, civil society, mass media, international organizations, etc., as well as political parties in front of the government for action, the agenda for policy formulation is then set. Then the goal and objective setting for the same is prepared realistically. It is then passed to enact a law by the legislature and give it legal status and authority to carry out its duties. And then the strategy of implementation is devised as well as the machinery needed to do the same. Public policy is a purposive course of action in dealing with a problem or a matter of concern within a specific time frame. Before going into the question of importance which is attached to policy formulation, implementation and monitoring, it would be better to recapitulate the components of public policy. First, policy is purposive and deliberately formulated. Policy must have purpose or a goal. It does not emerge at random or by chance. Once a goal is decided, the policy is devised in such a way that it determines the course of action needed to achieve that goal. Second, a policy is well thought out and is not a series of discrete decisions. Third, a policy is what is actually done and not what is intended or desired. A statement of goals does not constitute a policy. Fourth, policy also delineates a time frame in which its goals have to be achieved. Fifth, policy follows a defined course of action with formulation, implementation, monitoring and evaluation. Next, coming to the objectives and role of public policy. In fact, the scope of public policy is determined by the kind of role that the state adopts for itself in our society. In the classical capitalist society, state was assigned a limited role and it was expected that the state would merely act as a regulator of social and economic activity and not its promoter. With the advent of planned view of development, state began to be perceived as an active agent in promoting and shaping societies in its various activities. This was considered as a great change in the role of a state. Public policies expanded their scope from merely one of regulation to that of development. Expansion in scope led to several other consequences, like many more government agencies and institutions came into being in order to formulate and implement policies. In India, the Planning Commission and its attendant agencies came into being in order to formulate policies and develop perspectives that could define the direction which the country would follow. Public policy plays an important role in socio-economic development of our country. wide-ranging policies were formulated in the area of industrial and agricultural development. Many policies were converted into statutes like Industrial Development and Regulating Act or Land Tenancy Act. Others were kept as directives in the various plan documents. For all policy directions, the 5-year plans became the major source. These policies were of two types, one of regulation and the other of promotion. Laws laid down what could be done or not done by the entrepreneurs. This could be in the larger area like what goods can be produced by the public or whether certain goods can be traded only by government agencies. Laws also specified how state agencies themselves were to provide goods and services like electricity, transport, etc. The state undertook similar responsibilities in the social sphere. Dowry Act, Divorce Act, etc. are examples of this, but socio-economic transformation was not the only problem when India became independent. There were also problems of national integrity. The external environment was a source of threat and the country had to develop suitable policies to defend itself. Apart from this, there have been internal challenges. Regionalism has given rise to vociferous tendencies that have to be countered in the long-term perspective. This would include not only defense policies, but also similar efforts at decentralization that create greater national cohesiveness. Thus, since independence, public policies in India have been formulated with a view to achieving socio-economic development and maintaining national integrity. These goals have been complex, demanding coherent policies. This has become a difficult task because goals have to be divided into sectors and subsectors. Many a time, by its very nature, policies have been contradictory. What may be rational for economic development may not be so for national integration. Thus, the need of a strong center to cope with external threats, etc. is important, but it may go against the principles of decentralization, which provides for greater national cohesion of a heterogeneous society. This is the reason why ascertaining of the actual impact of public policy becomes a necessity. Next, coming to the importance of public policy, these days policy analysis is acquiring a lot of importance in the realm of the study of public administration. This trend is observable all over the world. The success of policy formulation, execution and monitoring ultimately depends on the success of policy analysis. In India, this trend emerged with the launching of our 5-year plans. As the years passed by, one 5-year plan was followed by another and disillusionment started as goals set for socio-economic development could not be achieved. Most governments of developing countries are engaged in the momentous task of kindling national resurgence through socio-economic development. They are struggling hard to develop their economy to sustain improvements in the social system and to increase the capacity of their political system with a view to achieving the major objective of the national development. They seek to improve the relevant policies. It is therefore taken for granted that the studies of approaches, strategies and concepts which will contribute towards this end are essential. The study of public policy represents a powerful approach for this purpose. Public policy is an important mechanism for moving a social system from the past to the future. It helps to shape the future. In other words, the study of public policy helps the development of professional advice about how to achieve particular goals. Public policy can also be an important issue for political and administrative machinery in order to ensure that governments select and adopt appropriate policies. The study of public policy has much to offer to the development of administration in different sectors of the economy. It will enable the administration to engage in such issues as are of public importance and are concerned with the transformation of values into public policy making and demanding the meaningful actions of public servants. The social scientists, especially political scientists, manifest concern with what governments should do with appropriate public policy. They contend that political science cannot be silent or impotent on current social and political problems, and that political scientists and academics in public administration have a moral obligation to put forward a particular policy on a particular problem. They should advance the level of political knowledge and improve the quality of public policy in whatever ways they think best. Notwithstanding the fact that substantial disagreement exists in society over what constitutes appropriate policies. Public policy improves the democratic or political capacities of people and not simply the efficiency and effectiveness of delivery of goods and services. A study of the policy formulation processes may help to gain greater knowledge and understanding of the complexities of the interacting social, economic and political processes and their implications for society. Policy may be viewed either as a dependent or an independent variable. The attention is placed on the political and environmental factors that help to determine the content of policy. For example, how do the distribution of power among pressure groups and governmental agencies affect the policy outcome, or how do urbanization and national income help shape the contents of policy? If public policy is viewed as an independent variable, the focus shifts to the impact of policy on the political system and the environment. Then the question arises as to what effect policy has on social welfare. How does it influence future policy choices or mobilize support for the political system? Factual knowledge about the policy making process and its outcomes is a prerequisite for prescribing oil and dealing with societal problems. Normatively, many political and administrative authorities believe that the study of public policy should be directed towards ensuring that governments adopt appropriate policies to attain certain desirable social goals. They reject the notion that policy analysis should strive to be value free, contending that political science should not and cannot remain politically neutral or silent on vital contemporary social, economic or political problems. They want to improve the quality of public policy in ways they desire, notwithstanding the fact that substantial disagreement may exist in society over what constitutes desirable or the appropriate goals of policy. Public policy may become an important profession for the students trained in administration, political science, economics, law, environmental studies, business and other disciplines. These fields constantly interface with government and have a direct stake in the quality and character of public. To the extent that analysis can understand how policy is made, what impacts are derived and how policy can improve more effective public policy might be formulated. Policy makers have also shown great interest in it because it ultimately helps in improving the effectiveness of policy. Many universities and research institutes are involved in policy analysis. The government provides for a lot of funds in this area. The study of public policy helps to shape the future, which requires new policies and choices. What is trivial today may be of colossal importance in the future. We can understand the future by extrapolation of the present trends. The idea of projecting some key social trends into the future may be of great help in this regard. Our collection of data for these purposes may include changes in population growth rates, education, public health and the like. We can carry the process further by forecasting what these projections might look like after a decade, since people cannot avoid being concerned with the consequences of public policies. Finally, the field of public policy has assumed considerable importance in response to the increasing complexity of the society. It is not only concerned with the description and explanation of the causes and consequences of government activity, but also with the development of scientific knowledge about the forces shaping public policy. The study of public policy helps to understand the social ills of the subject under study. Next, coming to the types of public policies. There are various types of public policies. First, substantive public policies. These are the policies which are concerned with the general welfare and development of the society, like provision of education and employment opportunities, economic stabilization, law and order enforcement, anti-pollution laws, etc. It does not cater to any particular or privileged section of society and have to be formulated dynamically, keeping in mind the goals and characteristics of the Constitution and directive principles of state policy, as well as the current and moral claims of society. Second, regulatory public policies. These policies are concerned with regulation of trade, business, safety measures, public utilities, etc., performed by independent organizations working on behalf of the government, Life Insurance Corporation, Reserve Bank of India, Securities Exchange Board of India, state electricity boards, etc. Policies pertaining to these services and organizations rendering these services are known as regulatory policies. Third, distributive public policies. These are the policies meant for specific segments of society, especially the needy ones. Public assistance and welfare programs, adult education programs, food relief, social insurance, vaccination camps, public distribution systems, etc. are all examples of such policies. Fourth, redistributive public policies. These policies are concerned with rearrangement of policies concerned with bringing basic social and economic changes. Certain assets and benefits are divided disproportionately amongst certain segments of society, and so those need to be redistributed in such a way that they reach where they are needed and do not lie about in surplus somewhere else. Fifth, capitalization public policies. These policies are related to financial subsidies given by the center to state and local governments and central and state business undertakings, etc. They are not directly linked to public welfare as the others listed above. They do contribute, but indirectly. These are basically infrastructural and development policies for government business organizations to keep them functioning properly. Sixth, constituent public policies. These are the policies relating to constituting new institutions and mechanisms for public welfare. Seventh, technical public policies. These relate to policies framed for arrangement of procedures, rules and framework which a system shall provide for discharge of action by various agencies in the field. Public policy has assumed considerable importance in response to the increasing complexity of the society. Public policy is not only concerned with the description and explanation of the causes and consequences of government activity, but also with the development of scientific knowledge about the forces shaping public policy. The study of public policy helps us to understand the social ills of the subject under study. Harold Lasswell commented in 1948 that the ultimate goal of policy making was the progressive democratization of mankind. Parson also opined that it is the clarification, shaping and sharing of values so as to extend and enhance democratization, which still remains the core and vital task of the theory and practice of public policy. Policies do more than effect change in societal conditions. They also hold people together to maintain orderliness in the state. Public policies of our democratic country are important devices and mechanisms for moving our social and economic system from the past to the future. Thus, the significance of public policy as a subject in the academics can be understood. It is clear that public policies are the activities that the government undertakes in order to pursue certain established goals and objectives. First, describe the characteristics of public policy. Second, explain the goals of public policy with examples of the Indian public policies. Third, discuss the types of public policies. First, Ashford, Dog, edited 1992, History and Context in Comparative Public Policy, Ithaca, New York, University of Pittsburgh Press. Second is Brewer, Gary D. and Peter D. Leon, 1983, The Foundations of Policy Analysis, Homewood 2, The Dorsey Press. Third is Dahl, Robert and Charles Lindblom, 1976, Politics, Economics and Welfare, New York, Harper. Fourth is Jones, C.O., 1970, An Introduction to the Study of Public Policy, Belmont, Prentice Hall. Fifth is Lasswell Harold, 1971, A Purview of Policy Sciences, New York, Elsevier. Sixth is Lerner D. and H. D. Lasswell, edits 1951, The Policy Sciences, Stanford University Press.